On November 29, 2022, Briem was brutalized by Ogden City cops. The officer's actions tore Mr. Briem's rotator cuff and caused emotional distress to bearer Briem. The lawsuit recently settled, and I was able to obtain a copy of the settlement agreement through a public records request. After looking over the settlement agreement, I have good news and bad news. While Ogden City settled for 6 figures, I will detail how the Ogden City Attorney's Office have now intentionally violated Mr. and Mrs. Briem's First Amendment rights. Before we take a deep dive into the settlement agreement, let's quickly recap what happened.
What can I do for you, sir?
So are you guys supposed to be here?
Supposed to be where?
This house.
I just came from the garage.
Yeah, is this your residence?
Yeah, that's my house. What are you doing?
We got a complaint that this house was foreclosed on.
No, the house isn't foreclosed on.
Does mine hanging tight for a second?
I'd like to go.
Where you gotta go? What's that?
What difference does that
It's closed
make
to
where I gotta
occupancy.
go?
So yeah, you guys should not be here.
What do you mean I should
So
be?
there's a closed to occupancy.
I was back in the back.
Well, for this property,
Don't
it's
let me
closed
say
for
that.
Yes, it does. It's on the front door. Partner just told me that. Hey, shut your car off.
No.
We need to get this settled.
No.
Sir?
You're trespassing.
No, get out of the car. Come on. Come on. Out of the car.
Am I under arrest?
No, sir.
Am I free to go?
No, you are not free to go. You are detained right now. We're trying to investigate.
If I'm
So,
not
what
under
is your
arrest,
name?
I'm free to go.
No, you are not. You are detained right now for investigation.
For what?
Ma'am,
What investigation?
we got a complaint from the neighbor that his house has been foreclosed on. No one should be here.
It has
You
not
guys
been-
are here.
It has-
There is a no occupancy sign on the door as per my partner there.
There is a sign on the door.
So,
And what
good
makes you think I've been in there?
that's the property. No trespassing.
Yes, that's my sign I put up.
So you're the owner of this property.
I am.
What is your name? You got a driver's license on you.
I do.
I get that from you.
I'm not driving.
You were just driving.
Not on
I
the
need to-
street.
Sir, ma'am, I need you to stand over there.
Okay, you have to identify yourself.
You need
It's
to
required
identify
by law. It
yourself.
doesn't matter. If
I don't have to identify myself.
Yes,
I don't have to say one
Yes,
damn
you
thing.
do.
That's fine.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I have the right to remain silent.
Because guess what? Maybe you're not the owner, and we don't know that. If this was your house, you would want us to investigate, right? If people are hanging around your house, maybe you're some random person. I don't know that.
Maybe I am.
Okay, so we're gonna figure that out.
I will show you my driver's license.
Perfect.
I will not give it to you.
Okay, we need that.
There it is.
Your name, your date of birth, and your address.
Sir?
Hey.
I told you I wasn't giving it to you.
Well, I took it.
Put it in. Okay.
This is
Stop. This is ridiculous. Stop.
I'm not coming to you.
Chill out, man. Do not grab me. Let go of me right now. Let go.
Let go of him.
I'm not grabbing you. My God, man. You son of a... Ow.
Do not do that.
Well, come on, just hurry up. It is very fun.
Get away right
Ma'am.
now. Get back or you will be arrested. Get back or you will be arrested right now. Get in front of your car. Now.
Hurry up. Let me out of here. Good girl. You tell me I can't breathe. Can you got me? Will you do something? You have to something. Help me up.
Hold on. There you go.
Stand up.
Get on your knees and stand you up, all right? 1, 2, 3. Stand up, sir. All right.
Say, you got my driver's license, you know who I am.
Let's start with the good news. The lawsuit settled for $110,000, and hopefully Rand Briem and his wife Vera Briem can move on and enjoy the twilight years of their lives. While $110,000 might seem like a decent amount of money, one must factor in attorney's fees, cost of filing, and medical bills. When a lawyer takes a case on contingency, you don't pay up front, but they take a percentage of any settlement or judgment won. Typically, this can range anywhere between 30 to 40%. In terms of medical bills, just by looking at Mr. Briem's injuries, one must assume they are significant. Due to Mr. Briem's age, he is on Medicare, and because the lawsuit settled and money was paid out, Medicare has a stake at the settlement money in order to recover money Medicare paid out to cover Rand Briem's medical bills. Furthermore, there may be taxes involved. However, since the lawsuit did include at least one personal injury claim, it's possible the taxes owed may be reduced or not applicable. In most circumstances, a settlement means a sense of justice, even if the victims do not end up with much money after attorney's fees, expenses, and other factors. I hope we can all agree that it took courage for Mr. and Mrs. Briem to fight for their rights. Now for the bad news. As we examine the settlement agreement closely, we will see that Ogden City have now intentionally violated Mr. and Mrs. Briem's First Amendment rights. Firstly, there is a confidentiality provision preventing Mr. and Mrs. Briem from disclosing the terms of this exact settlement agreement. It makes no sense because any member of the public can obtain this exact settlement agreement through a public records request. Secondly, the City of Ogden forced Mr. and Mrs. Briem into a non-disparagement clause, where they are forever forbidden from making any comments that would publicly criticize, ridicule, defame, or disparage the City of Ogden, Officer Genovese, and/or Officer Taylor. The settlement agreement also states this non-disparagement provision is a material term of this release, the absence of which would have resulted in releasees refusing to enter into this release. In layman's terms, if Mr. and Mrs. Briem refused the non-disparagement clause, there would have been no settlement. Furthermore, it states, in the event of a violation of this non-disparagement provision, releasees shall have the right to monetary relief. It's clear that the City of Ogden wanted to shut Mr. and Mrs. Briem up so they can't reveal the settlement agreement, and they can't speak out about what happened, because in doing so, it would either violate the confidentiality provision or the non-disparagement provision. This is a clear violation of Mr. and Mrs. Briem's First Amendment rights. Think about the implications. First, the city cops violated Mr. and Mrs. Briem's rights and caused great bodily injury to Mr. Briem. Then the city settled, but in exchange they stripped the Briems from speaking out about what happened. This doesn't sit well with me. It is clear that Ogden City are intentionally violating Mr. and Mrs. Briem's First Amendment rights. This is not just my opinion, there is case law to back this up. In Overbey versus Mayor of Baltimore, the Fourth Circuit held that non-disparagement clauses in settlement agreements with the government violate the First Amendment. In 2012, Baltimore City police officers physically attacked, degraded, and arrested Ashley Overbey after she called 911, fearing someone had burglarized her home. Instead of helping Ashley, Baltimore police assaulted and arrested her. Because of the unlawful arrest, Ashley was unable to find a job or pay her bills. She and her kids became homeless. Because it was obvious Ashley was a victim of police brutality and would likely prevail in court, the City of Baltimore offered her $63,000 to settle her lawsuit. However, the city required a non-disparagement agreement that prevented Ashley from revealing any opinions, facts, or allegations in any way connected to her case. In essence, this was a gag order preventing Ashley from talking about the traumatic incident and how it ruined her life. If Ashley spoke up about what happened, then she would be fined $31,500. It was a one-sided non-disparagement agreement because the city could slander Ashley all they want, but Ashley was unable to defend herself. In an article published by the Baltimore Sun, the city solicitor criticized Ashley by calling her hostile and suggested Ashley had caused her own mistreatment. Then trolls and bootlickers started commenting on the article and bashed Ashley. They bashed her real good to the point Ashley believed she needed to defend her reputation. However, because Ashley commented online, the city of Baltimore asserted Ashley violated the settlement agreement. The city fined Ashley over $30,000 and only paid Ashley half of what she was owed. The city kept the other half as liquidated damages because Ashley exercised her First Amendment rights by commenting online. Ashley sued the city over the unconstitutional fine. The district court ruled against Ashley, but Ashley was brave and determined. She appealed it all the way to the Fourth Circuit, and Ashley won. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Baltimore City's use of non-disparagement clauses to settle lawsuits with victims of police brutality violated the victim's First Amendment right to free speech. The court understood the importance of free speech and the right to be critical of one's government. Now back to Ogden, Utah. There has been strong public interest in what happened to Rand Briem. The story has been featured on the news and on various YouTube channels. There has also been backlash against the Ogden Police Department on their Facebook page. We believe Ogden City acted unjustly when they forced Mr. and Mrs. Briem into confidentiality. While Utah is not Maryland, all Americans should have the right to the First Amendment. All victims should have the right to criticize their government. Ogden City wants to silence Mr. and Mrs. Briem and sweep this incident under the rug, but by doing so, they have further violated Mr. and Mrs. Briem's rights. Non-disparagement agreements and trying to silence victims of civil rights violations also happen in the corporate world. When I worked for the Nielsen TV ratings, I was discriminated and retaliated against. I was even called a racial slur by my manager, Tanner Tate. In October of 2022, Nielsen tried to silence me from speaking out about what happened by offering me $51,000 to settle. Nielsen wanted to gag me, and they wanted me to delete my YouTube videos. Even though I was homeless at the time, I rejected Nielsen's $51,000 offer. There was simply no way I could ever sell my First Amendment rights to Nielsen, especially when they destroyed my life. Nielsen is the most unethical company I know. To anyone out there listening, I hope you do not sign up for the Nielsen TV ratings or take part in any of their surveys, and just say no to confidentiality agreements and non-disparagement clauses.